feared through Killarney. Now I'm back, hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and so jiggle my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
All right, we are back with another episode of TJ is One of Us, the podcast. I have Shane and Andrew here again today. All the boys are back, and we're being consistent in 2020 now after our little break. I promised you we would, and for once we're keeping a promise here. Another promise we're going to keep is we are live on Twitter. We have our own Twitter, which is probably about 5 years behind the times of everyone else. But hey, we're trying here. So we're going to tweet out some cool stuff from our new Twitter. The handle is shockingly TJ is One of Us, and one is spelled out ONE. So nobody had snagged that up. I'm shocked with the thousands and thousands of listeners that we have that no one stole it and tried to sell it back to us. So we're grateful for that. We know you guys are being cognizant, and everyone was trying to grab that handle. So thanks for leaving it out there for us. And let's get a little introduction going here. Shane, what's going on with you right now, aside from just, watching every Zion highlight in the book and checking in on the Flyers tonight?
Oh yeah, man. Zhaire Smith's Eve. This is quite the time. No, I am literally, I ended up at work like 2.5 hours late today because some dumb bitch can't do anything. And then I went immediately from there to out with my ladies friend group for like a bar trivia thing, which is not something I ever do. Scott, you know me. But the one thing that I'm not used to is I am 100% not used to sitting still all the time, which I was all day. So I am now laying on the floor on an acupuncture mat, holding the microphone in midair doing this podcast. And I got to say, I feel fucking glorious.
we got to get Steph to shoot a picture of you. We might need everyone to do that. I'm
shirtless and like I'm halfway to like, what's the fat guys in the diapers? I'm halfway to that.
we can keep it like Instagram friendly and throw some like smiley faces over your nipples or something like that. But,
pasties?
Yeah.
All right,
no. You know how like the hot like Julia Rose does this stuff all the time. The chick that showed her tits at the World Series game. Yeah, me too. I mean, I would do terrible things to marry her, but but yeah, she puts like little like clown faces over her nipples and goes like, I don't know why they took it down. Like, you know why they took it down, but I appreciate it anyway. And I hear Andrew clamoring there in the background. Andrew, what's going on with you? I hear you were watching the Flyers game, and give us a little breakdown of that. I think our Flyers won 3-0, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, it was a good win for them. They go right into the All-Star break. It was Brian Elliott played fantastic, filling in for the injured Carter Hart, and then Voracek and JVR with 2 goals early on, and then I'm blanking on the third goal, but it was an empty netter to seal the victory.
Nice. Always good when the rest of the teams are winning as much as our 76ers. So let's get into it here and talk about the last couple games when we played a couple of teams from New York, and we stomped them both out. There's a couple actually stomped them both out is not the right way to put it.
I was going to correct you. But...
Yeah, we eked out a couple wins, but, I like to keep things like rosy when I look back on them and think that we stomped them out both times. But, so let's start with that Knicks game, and we're going to go a little more in-depth than usual with Knicks games because, normally the reviews we have, I feel like me and Andrew normally hit this, is the Sixers played a basketball game, and it was against the New York Knicks, and we won. So that did happen, but let's talk a little bit more about it. Andrew, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, usually we're used to just throwing this game away because it's a blowout, but finally we had a close one. And obviously against the Knicks, you don't want to see a close one, but a win's a win on the road, and that's the big thing in these last two is with how bad they're struggling. We finally won 2 consecutive games on the road. But I think a big one out of this is just, as we mentioned in the last podcast, was the aggressiveness from the team. Simmons went to the foul line 8 times in this game. So that's a big number for him. And then I think obviously he wins Player of the Week, which shout out to him for doing for I think it was the first time in his career, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
So it follows Josh Richardson up after that week. So tremendous job by those two. And obviously you don't want to see a player get hurt. And you guys mentioned last time as well with Embiid's injury, kind of Horford kind of finding his rhythm. Well, I think it's also kind of helped Simmons find his true game with the aggressiveness as well, and taking it up to the next level and seeing how much he can actually carry this team. And I think that was the big thing with the Knicks game, and the defense him and Thybulle create is just so intense. And again, Thybulle might not always get it done offensively, but the defense between those two just creates so much.
Is Matisse Thybulle the most likable player on the Sixers right now? I mean, the way he is playing defense, the way that there is nothing bad you can say. Well, you can say something bad about his offense, but again, we're going to stick positive here. I mean, he is standing on his head, to steal a hockey term here, right? See, I'm learning, Shane. But he is playing unbelievable defense out there. And you know what? I was looking at some stats from him the other day. He's shooting 40% from three right now. I think he only made one in the game against the Knicks, but he's trying a little bit. He's coming along there. He's playing crucial minutes. I mean, he's starting now that Embiid is out, which is big. I was also reading that the rationale behind that is Brett Brown is planning for Matisse Thybulle to be a crucial player in the playoffs. How do you feel about them integrating him a bit more into the team here?
I think it's big. I think it's big going forward. Just a sense of getting him ready for the playoffs, because obviously it picks up a notch. And to your point about the 40%, I think that just shows he knows when to take the shots. I think that's the biggest thing is he learned already as a rookie is he's not going to just chuck up a bad shot. He's very good at being a selective shooter, and he knows when he can get the open shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane, kick in some thoughts on Matisse Thybulle. I hear you just chomping at the bit to get in on our boy here.
Yeah, man, I am big Matisse fan. Andrew, I think you kind of hit that on the head. When he first came in, it was almost like he absolutely had to prove all these people wrong who said he couldn't shoot. It was just not part of what he was asked to do in college. So it was only natural to have some kind of skepticism about what he would be offensively, certainly at the NBA level. And he went through that phase of like, I'm going to get the ball and I'm going to shoot. Like every time my hands touch it, I got to be a 3-and-D guy. I got to just chuck it up. And it wasn't good. Like he had to find his spots on the floor, which I think he's found more confidently. I think that the team as a whole and Brett Brown is kind of schemed a way to allow him those 2-3 spots behind the arc that do make him the most comfortable. And I think now he's a smart enough player, and we've seen it especially over the last, I think he started the last 4 or 5 games, that his court vision and patience on offense and ability to kind of see things happen, he does make the correct read, whether that be the shoot, whether that to be, like I said, a catch and shoot. It could be make a one dribble move just to create a little bit of space off pass and then shoot, but he's shooting the shots that he can make. But to Scott, to your point earlier, and Brett Brown's comment about making him an integral piece to this postseason roster, playoff roster for the 76ers, I think it's something that Brett Brown has struggled with over his first 2 trips to the playoffs with the team, is having a legitimate bench and having that true playable playoff depth. I worry about Furkan in the playoffs, not quite as much now as I would have early on in the year. But adding another wing who can do what Matisse does, playoffs, you're going to have to win some ugly games, some shutdown defense games. And I'm kind of willing to, honestly, and they're never going to do it because of the contract that Al Horford signed and like his status in the league. But honestly, Al Horford should be like your 6th-ish man. And Matisse should be starting. Like they should find a way to make that the regular. They're 17-3 with him on the court at playing 20+ minutes a night. He's that fucking good on defense. He makes that kind of a difference.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And that brings up an interesting point. I've been reading a lot about how Al Horford should come off the bench or Josh Richardson should come off the bench. I don't necessarily agree with the latter, but I do agree with the fact that the starting five they had starting the year might not be the starters that they need. And I'm not saying that they won't be the guys that will be in at the end of the game, but I think they have a good way of starting the game off with the guys that are playing right now. They're developing great chemistry. And I think when Joel Embiid comes back, they're going to have to change it up a little because obviously Joe's starting out there and it changes the game plan a bit. But I really do like having Matisse out there. Al Horford, he has been struggling. He's found his stride a bit more, to Andrew's point earlier. But I wouldn't hate seeing him come off the bench. Josh Richardson, in my opinion, he eats too many minutes.
He's Philadelphia.
Yeah,
he's got to be out there.
He's just such a grinder that we need him out there, whether he's shooting well or not shooting well, because you never really know what you're going to get with him shooting. But I'm looking at some stats from this Knicks game. He was plus 17 on the night, which is just an unbelievable statistic. He's making his free throws, which just gives him extra points in my book. You need to have him out there, so I think he's negotiable. Andrew, who would you have in your starting five? What do you think we need to do here?
I think it's tough to call just because, like Shane said, with Horford and the money, they probably won't do it. But at this point, you have nothing to lose with keeping Thybulle in because, just with how young he is, he's going to be a quick defender. He creates so many problems on defense. And coming into the year, we knew scoring would be a challenge at certain points, and we knew the defense is supposed to carry this team. And I think right now on defense, Thybulle gives you some of the best defense on the court, obviously, with the way it's been going these last few games. So I'm all for trying Horford off the bench, and it'll create a different rotation, but you got a good amount of time to kind of figure things out a little bit. And I think that's one of the scares for this team is usually by this point you have your set lineup and set rotations, but since it's been going back and forth between injury and who's been consistent stuff between Nito and Burke. They haven't found a good solid rotation from starter or to bench, and I think that would be the one concern with this team. But as far as the starting lineup go, I'd be all for trying out Matisse there for Horford for a little bit when Embiid comes back.
Yeah, man. Today's NBA is so non-traditional when it comes 1 through 5. Embiid's a 5. But everyone else on the court is just kind of a fucking basketball player. To me, I don't understand why that same logic couldn't extend to a rotation for that perspective. I understand what it means to be out there as a starting 5. But there are guys like Lou Williams as a sixth man. For however many years it was, he was playing more minutes than whoever the starting point guard was as a sixth man, because his instant offense was kind of worth it, but he wasn't a starter. And I think to balance out a rotation, think about this. If you had Al Horford and Joel Embiid, that experiment's just not working. I'm not saying that they can't overlap in minutes and find a way to make it work. They have to, but it's not great. There's stylistically that marriage doesn't work. But imagine the second unit of Al Horford, Hayward Highsmith, Mariel Shayok, Zhaire Smith. Most of those names I'm fucking kidding, by the way. But no, if you had a big man like that to kind of, spread those minutes, especially if you're going to have Joel Embiid play 26 to 31, 32 minutes a night instead of the 36 to 38 that he would hit last year. That luxury of having a plus 17 Al Horford out there is phenomenal. And to have him out there with a Furkan Korkmaz, with a Matisse Thybulle, Josh Richardson, hanging on to some of those backup minutes there at the guard spot too. That's a better rotation to me, and a more fluent one, because it allows Ben Simmons, who kind of needs to not have Joel Embiid there all the time in order to be what he's been this week. It allows Joel Embiid to be Joel Embiid. Then it allows Al Horford to be Al Horford. You maximize each of those players as the individual player that they are when the marriages just kind of aren't working yet. And I see nothing wrong with that, personally.
Yeah, I think we saw that partially, and now we're going to do that in this game shortly, but in the Nets game yesterday, where when you put Horford on the bench, you really had no backup in O'Quinn or when they had to go down to Bolden, they were so desperate, and that obviously was a mess. And that's kind of when things went downhill, so you were forced to move Simmons to the 5. So I think that also just helps in that sense, and you're able to move Horford to come in instead of a guy like O'Quinn or Bolden, and it just creates better rotation minutes for all those type of guys. And like you said, it lets Simmons play his game rather than being stuck with Embiid the entire game.
One of the things I wish that they would do is they would stick with the guy with the hot hand, because we have so much talent on this team. If there's a night when Joel Embiid is not playing great, which we do get from time to time, don't force it. Same thing with Ben Simmons, same thing with Al Horford, same thing with Josh Richardson. Just don't force it and let whomever is playing well keep shooting and run the offense through them. They don't tend to do that, and I feel like that's one of the things that hopefully they're picking up with Embiid out, is everyone else is stepping up a little bit, and they're not forcing it through him, but they tend to just rely on that and make it so that Embiid has to have the ball in his hands at all times and just force it. And I think that's a Brett Brown thing, less the guys on the floor. But, man, I really think that when Embiid comes back, that's going to be crucial. To Shane's point, if he's going to play 25 minutes in a game, that's okay. We're not worried about stats here. We're just worried about wins. So, and I think Joel would absolutely agree with that. He's not concerned about, him or his stats or anything like that. If he's not playing well, just figure out who is and get him the ball.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like the players do a decent enough job at that. Like, there are a couple guys, like Al Horford actually might be the one guy I feel like doesn't get it, but he's earned that right in his career. Like, I don't know. I think it was the Knicks game, honestly. He must have had 5 or 6 empty possessions in a row where he was catch and shoot threes or step back fadeaways from his Al Horford spot and just clanking shit off the back of the rim. It was just ugly. And I'm just get him the fuck off the floor. At a certain point, get him off the floor. I feel like most of this team has such a quick trigger to stop using the trigger. These guys, Toby, if he's not feeling it, the man doesn't shoot. Matisse Thybulle, Andrew mentioned it earlier. He if he's not feeling it, he's going to look for a pass. I feel like a lot of the players themselves are perfectly passive, if that makes sense. But I do think that Brett Brown and the coaching staff is a big part of those moments where we see those lapses in passiveness where it's fuck it, just keep shooting.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things, and we can use this kind of to transition into the Nets game, just blur the two of them, because I think we got to get into the Nets game anyway here, but they did do a decent job at the end of that game where Tobias Harris just drained that three, brought him back to it, and they played excellent defense leading up to that. That is their bread and butter, so they're going to win games when it's 90-87 like it was in this Knicks game. It was ugly. But I think Brett Brown needs to recognize that kind of stuff, and that's when his coaching needs to come out, and he needs to step up just like the guys. Quick, one more thing before we get into the Nets game here. So we're going to do a little D-League shout-out right here, or G-League, whatever the fuck it's called now. My boy Norvel Pelle had a huge block in the game against the Knicks. I'm just scanning through the highlights on ESPN here, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that when he they're calling it a reverse posterize on Portis, which I wouldn't go with that. It was an impressive-ass block. And he had probably the most Norvel Pelle stat line of all time, 15 minutes, 4 rebounds, 2 dimes, and 2 blocks with a +9 differential there. So yeah, the real reason I'm bringing him up is, that block, but also I got word the other day that his 2-way contract is up. So he will not be on the Sixers for a bit here. So we're going to get our last swell sighting. I hope he just dominates in the G League and just earns his way into getting a contract later in the year. But we're saving our cap space for a trade, potentially for Derrick Rose. I don't know, but there might be someone coming onto the Sixers here. And the other thing I did see from the Z League is our boy, the 7th best player in the NBA, Zhaire Smith, announced that he's going to shoot threes and he's going to dominate shooting threes, which might be what we need to bring onto the team.
Yeah, got to get him back. It hasn't been is a real fucking problem for me.
I agree. We
Like,
took a hard stance on him, and God damn it, did the Sixers not agree with us? Like,
I don't even know if it's the Sixers. Like, if I'm Zhaire Smith, like the G League, D League, DG League, like no one gives a shit about wins. No one cares about it. It's just pad your stats, go out there and do what you got to do as an individual to make the team and roster at the NBA level. Mariel Shyok's out there just scoring 88 points a night because the guy can flat out shoot the basketball. Can't play a lick of fucking defense. He's so damn slow, but he can shoot. Like, at a certain point, he's going to be like our Donyell Marshall. Like, hey, fat guy, going out there and just catch and shoot for us 7 times a night. That's it. That's all I need from you. When is Zhaire Smith going to realize that his athleticism, his defensive abilities are like great, but we can't fucking shoot? So, like, I don't know, just start shooting 15 a night down there. Find your stroke. Find your spot. How the hell did it take 28 games into the G League for this shit to happen? My rant's over.
I agree. He was not shooting much up to this point. But he's been playing great to my knowledge as of late, and he's going to start shooting now, which he announced to the world on Twitter. I'm pumped to see it. Hopefully he just starts shooting, I don't know, a modest 65% from 3. You think that'll get him a spot on the team?
I mean, I think it might get him a spot in the top 5 of the NBA, honestly.
Do you think you can go from the G League to the 3-point contest immediately with just like a 2-week stretch of shooting 65% from beyond the arc?
Mariel Shyok's representing the Eastern Conference already.
Yeah.
He's not going to play a minute of NBA basketball this year, but he is 100% showing up for the 3-point contest.
Yeah, he's trying to fill voids. I'll tell you who has been shooting the ball great, though, is the guy we love to hate, Furkan Korkmaz, and his goddamn pink shoes, which, Andrew, I'm going to let you talk about those in a couple. They're back to green?
Yeah, aren't they?
Yeah, he wore like red shoes yesterday's game.
He did yesterday was red. Or like
I was shocked, dude. Like, they actually like mixed well with the uniforms.
Yeah, they kind of did. They're maybe I'm colorblind. I saw him as kind of pink, but I try to just not look at his feet anymore because it gets me so angry watching the game. And it also gets TJ McConnell angry, which is just so great to me. Like the soundbite that came out the other day that Shane had sent to us when TJ was mic'd up, and he was just like, "Why are his shoes green? Did he lose a bet?" Like the oldest joke in the book there, going with a dad joke. I'm sure everyone on the Pacers bench just loves that. I know we did. And that's our namesake. Shout out to TJ McConnell. You're still one of us. God damn it, still are. But yeah, so Furkan Korkmaz has been shooting 48% from 3 and averaging 16.5 points a game over the last 4 games. He's good. Like, I mean, I think we'd announced that he was good earlier in the year already, but like, he's still good. I expected him to suck by this point and just drop the ball. But you know what? He's putting in quality minutes. Like, to Shane's point before, I'm a little worried about how he'll hold up in the rough playoffs and deal with kind of the pressure there. But you know what? He's been a really big part of this Sixers team all year.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, I think we all forget, like, he's kind of been like a professional basketball player for a while. And, you know, his calling card's obviously always been his shot. You know, I kind of nerded out the other day over Furkan, and like I went back and looked at like just different things of his draft year and what different scouts around NBA front offices were saying. And like there was thoughts that like he could climb into like a top like 8 to 12 ish pick, and like I think we ended up getting him at like 24 or 26. I'm blanking on which pick we got him at there, but like there was always something with him that league wide was recognized at one point as, all right, this guy's got legitimate potential, you know, to be, I don't want to say like a cornerstone player, but certainly, you know, a significant role player. And maybe he just took a little bit more time in the oven, man. He's definitely playing freer. You know, I think that he realizes like, hey, if this doesn't work out here, like fucking just, that's it. Like, that's all I got. You know, and he'll go back to Turkey or whatever and play over there. Like, and he'll have a career somewhere else. But, man, a free Furkan Korkmaz playing out there the way that he's playing right now, and like he looks faster because like he was very slow and very bad at defense for his entire Sixers career to this point, and he looks better. Like him and Toby, 2 guys who I felt like were going to be like extreme liabilities out there. Totally not.
You were right. He was the 26th pick back in 2016.
Yeah,
Which
TLC 24.
It's weird thinking that he was a first-round draft pick, just thinking about some other first-round draft picks that have come out. But he really has come into his own.
Pascal Siakam went like 2 picks later.
Yeah, your draft knowledge is on point right now. I'm going to have to go back and read some draft stats just to come back in the next show, and I'll do you here.
All right, give it a go.
Yeah, I don't think I'll get over that one. The draft, for whatever reason, I enjoy watching it. It's literally one of my favorite nights of the year. I had a tradition during the process era where me and my buddy Max would go and get 40s, and we would sit and exclusively drink 40s and nerd out over the draft and get real excited because back in the
You were the most
era,
Caucasian kid I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, doesn't everyone drink 40s? Come on, Old English, Hurricanes, good stuff. Like, don't drink 40s if you're listening at home. It's fucking gross, but it's a great tradition. It's the only time that I ever drink 40s, except for back when I was in college, and we would literally scrounge up quarters for it because you're broke when you're in college. So I've graduated to some canned beer instead of malt liquor, but yeah, so that was kind of my like little draft tradition. But to get back to our original point, Furkan Korkmaz, what I actually think has happened this year is he's picked up the slack that Mike Scott has let off, because all the hype that Mike Scott has and the Hive and everyone behind him, he has really not had a good year. And I think it's definitely hurting the Sixers' second line. I wish that there was a little more light on this, but it's definitely hurting us.
Yeah, for sure. So here's the thing, like Philadelphia does have a way of bringing something out in certain players across the board in all 4 major sports that other cities can't. And last year was a special year for the Sixers as a whole. Mike Scott comes over here. He's certainly got a bit of an edge. His personality lends itself exactly. It's like a Philadelphia's fan base's wet dream in terms of what they want out of an athlete. And he fed off that. And what happens is 29 other NBA teams don't get that type of production out of you. So eventually you're going to regress back to who you are. And last year's, kind of his own personal Cinderella story, basically going all the way up to the kind of the nail in the coffin of the Brooklyn series with that 3-point shot, that little hop thing and the ninja headband, which still maybe that's the problem. Maybe we got to bring that shit back. We just got to say, screw it. If he's got to pay a fine every game, let him pay a fine, but let him wear the damn thing. If anyone knows a medical reason why he may need it, by the way, like maybe like it's a migraine relief type of thing, like just he needs the pressure surrounded the entire circumference of his head. Who knows? But like Mike Scott, this is who he is. Like at the end of the day, it is who he is, and it's a damn shame because we paid him thinking that Philadelphia and Mike Scott could continue to like bring this out of each other for the 76ers team, and like that ain't working, and like that's the cap space we need. That's the difference between Norvel Pelle staying up, because we're a better basketball team with Norvel Pelle. As much as I like Kyle O'Quinn, who just can't get on the floor, which is amazing.
King.
I love him. But and it's the difference between some of those 2-way contracts that are just getting bounced around up and down on those 10 days. And that's the real bitch of it. So I hope that he finds another gear. I hope that he gets that fuck you Mike Scott attitude again, mirrored with those results as well. But I don't see it happening. To me, I see him as good as gone at the deadline. Like he's going to be a piece in any deal for cap purposes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not going to say one game and he's back, but I thought that's kind of what we saw yesterday in the Nets game. I thought he kind of brought that extra aggressiveness and physicalness, and you kind of saw that with the rebounds in his game. And he had 5 offensive rebounds, and he turned that into 8 points. And again, I'm not going to say one game is back, but if he can continue to do what he did yesterday, I thought he did kind of look like him, not to a full extent, but a little bit like his old self. Just he played with a little extra aggressiveness, I thought, and hopefully that can change the way he goes the rest of the year. And I mean, he doesn't have the ninja headband anymore, but he did go with those super high socks yesterday.
Man, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it reminded me of back with Keith Van Horn when he wore those like high socks. The socks were almost up to his
The
knees.
orthopedic sock?
No,
That's like what
that,
it looked
but,
like.
that high level, like they're still Nikes, but he wore like extra high up to his knee almost.
That's
I
awesome.
know exactly what you're talking about. And the Keith Van Horn to Mike Scott comparison has definitely never been made before. So congrats. We have a first in the world. This has never happened before.
Well
Andrew,
done.
you might need to document this one. Congrats, my friend. This is a new comparison here. And I'm not going to let you forget this one. So we will be bringing Keith Van Horn up, one of the whitest and nerdiest players in NBA history, constantly now on the TJ is one of those podcasts.
Well done. That should probably be the inaugural tweet.
Yeah, I think that might be up there. Yeah, so, I mean, we do have this new Twitter coming around, so we are going to be able to capture some of these moments a little bit better so we can remember it, so that in a year when we're talking about how, I don't know, that I was right that the Nuggets are going to win the West, there's still a chance, not really, but, we'll bring that stuff up to light and have a better record for everyone. Let's get back into the subject at hand here, this Nets game. It was a good game for the Sixers. I mean, they scored a shit ton of points, which is weird because in the Knicks game, they scored 90 points and won a dirty game. Just kind of scrapped it out or whatever and just muscled the Knicks into victory at the end. But here, there was just so many points. I mean, in the second quarter, there was 71 points scored, which is ridiculous in the Sixers game because we are the greatest defensive team of all time, and nobody drops 36 against us, but the Knicks did, or the Nets did, excuse me. Yeah. The Knicks haven't ever scored 36 points in a quarter, but but Ben Simmons also had a career night. He had a triple-double. He had 34 points. He was plus 13. I mean, 12 boards, 12 dimes, 5 steals, 2 blocks. He was playing unbelievable at the 5. I think he had like 15 points in the night just playing center, which is interesting in a team when we have nothing but centers and giant guys, when our point guard is also underneath. It's also an interesting thing to see when Al Horford's floating around the top of the key and he's willing to shoot and Ben Simmons still isn't. But it's okay. We still love you, Ben. Yeah, and, I mean, Tobias Harris, he didn't have as great of a game as he did against the Knicks, but he's still okay. Looking through stats here, Josh Richardson had a decent night. Yeah, actually, so this is not a Sixers point, but I was watching some abbreviated games. I don't know if anyone else out there who has League Pass. They do this awesome thing called a condensed game, where you get to watch the entirety of the game in 15 minutes. The only issue with that is they usually go with the home team's announcer. So you don't get to hear Zoom off calling things out then, but you do get to hear the opposing team call stuff out. And they were kind of all over the Sixers, and they were kind of liking the way that the Sixers play. They did go as far as saying that the Sixers team is a force to be reckoned with. But the only thing they talked about more than that was this Nick Claxton dude. I mean, who the fuck is that? Like, am I the only person that didn't know who he was going into this game?
Not a clue.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Like, they literally, like, every other comment was just like, oh my God, it's Nick Claxton, and he's dunking and doing this and that. Like, I thought the only Claxton in the world was Speedy Claxton, former Sixers. Yeah. So I kept getting confused in my head, and I had to consciously write his name down so I would remember to say it for the podcast here. So
I watched that whole game yesterday, and it's not even ringing a bell.
Yeah. But the Nets announcers don't have much to talk about over there anymore, so they're talking about Nick Claxton.
Weird as hell.
Yeah. What were you guys' takes on this game?
Defense, man. Did you see some of those? I mean, there was a possession, and look, I think everything kind of came in like a 3.5, 4 minute stretch, like game time stretch of time where the Sixers missed, 48 shots in a row. However, both teams stayed off the score sheet because Matisse Thybulle and Ben Simmons and Furkan, I think, was even out there. Just everything. Hands fucking everywhere. That was the most fun I've ever seen not scoring a basketball, ever. I think Matisse, had, maybe it was Claxton, who knows, on the sidelines, blocked him from behind, then picked it off the side, gave it out to Ben. Ben went down, missed whatever the hell shot he was taking. Mike Scott got the rebound underneath, lost possession of the rebound. Matisse Thybulle came through, picked that whilst falling out of bounds, threw it over his head, went back to, I don't know, Al Horford. Al Horford kicked it over to Furkan, who missed the three. But it was awesome. You don't have that much fun watching a team play defense. And with Matisse Thybulle and Ben Simmons, you freaking do.
It was the ultimate Matisse Thybulle highlight. I think this is going to be something that when they do the recap at the end of the year or whatever, and we're relishing in our NBA championship and getting excited for the parade again. Or again, the Sixers haven't had a parade, but I don't know why I said again there. I guess I'm still living in the Eagles Super Bowl era. But yeah, it was unbelievable. It was him just being like, all right, I got to go get the ball again. Like, you can see him constantly put his head down, grab another steal. Then, the ball gets loose and he gets the ball again, passes it out the bend. It was just an awesome possession of basketball. I could not echo your point more, Shane. I had that pegged for this as well. It is incredible that the Sixers are making defense fun. And most of all, they're making it fun for us to watch these games again, because they weren't fun for a bit there. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I think a lot of this has to do with, we mentioned Josh Richardson being a Philly guy. And I think that's what a lot of these other guys are buying into as well, is you might not have the greatest possession all the time, but just get back and do your thing on the defensive end. I think there's a time last night when Thybulle turns it over, but he was almost the first guy back, and he gets a steal or a block shot or whatever. And I think that's he's buying into the Josh Richardson mentality of, oh, I can't take a play off. I need to go out there, and I might create a turnover or miss a shot here or there, but I got to be the first guy back and make the play on the other end to kind of spark the team in that kind of way.
Yeah, I think all across the board in Philadelphia, fan bases, obviously we love the offensive power, and output in all four sports from anyone, whether it was the Donovan McNabb led Philadelphia Eagles. McNabb stinks, by the way. Anyone who liked him, you're a dumbass.
Good person.
So he's also a horrible human. That is true.
Yeah.
Obviously the 2008 World Series team had an offense that was unreal. Those things they're all super sexy, but when we sit back and we really talk about what set those teams apart, you look at, it was a Jim Johnson led defense, and man, they were fast, they were nasty, there was no one else like them. You take a look back, and Jimmy Rollins was arguably the best defensive shortstop in baseball. Shane Victorino won a Gold Glove out there in center. Chase Utley, at second base. Ryan Howard got skinny at one point and ended up being average defensively at first base. Carlos Ruiz. You look back throughout Flyers history, and they've always had a number one defenseman or a top pair. That was exceptional. And then you take a look at the Sixers, and this is that first time in our lifetime where we've had this kind of a gritty defense behind them. And this is what this city is going to fall in love with, because there's really not a whole hell of a lot offensively we can. But if anything comes of this type of a team, we're going to look back and it's going to be this kind of a defense, and it's going to be those Matisse Thybulle highlights and things of the sort that really make us fall in love with this basketball team. So that's what's super cool for me.
Yeah, absolutely here. This was a great defensive game. We got Furkan at the end just hitting an absolute contested dagger, which is not something you would have ever expected before the year, but our man is putting in minutes. I don't know how many more times I can act surprised. Still, I've done it twice on this podcast already, that Furkan is good and he drains that three. And it was a rough game, but a great win for the Sixers. I'm very happy with how they've been playing over the last couple weeks. Still pumped to get Embiid back, but all in all, I think we're in good shape and we're trending upwards, which is definitely the right direction to go in. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on this game before we transition into some other stuff here? Some quick notes on the last week in Sixers basketball.
No, man, I think we hit on a lot of stuff there.
We did, and goddamn it, we talked more about the Knicks game than the Nets game, so score one for us. Don't tell us we don't talk about the Knicks, all right? Because I know everyone's complaining about that. But some of the stuff we've touched on already. But we talked about Ben Simmons being the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Congrats, Ben. You are just playing unbelievable basketball right now. My favorite stat that has arisen out of this is just a few of these players that Ben has guarded over the course of the year is Trae Young, point guard, 0.0% from the field. Luka Doncic, 4 turnovers, 1 field goal. Miles Turner, 0 for 7 from the floor. Kevin Love, 1.0% field goal percentage. Joe Harris, 0 points. Mike Conley, 0% from the field. Zach LaVine, 0% from the field. And fucking Jaylen Brown, 0 points, 0% from the field in 3 games when Ben is guarding him. If that doesn't get you hyped up here in that stat line, you don't know Sixers basketball.
Oh, but we should trade him.
Yeah, of course. He's not that good. He doesn't know how to shoot, right?
Unbelievable. Sixers Twitter is a terrible place.
It is, but it's so easy to get lost in Sixers Twitter. And just plugging it again, the TJ is one of us is live on Twitter at TJ is one of us. Man, I'm really hyping this thing up. I mean, if you're not following it, I don't know what you're doing. So I will be checking it after this to see if we can get our follow count up. So yeah, we're going to keep hamming that up and putting out some good stuff for you guys there. But yeah, Ben Simmons, the Eastern Conference Player of the Week, was his first time ever doing it. I think you had said that already, right, Andrew?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a monumental point in his career. You guys think he's making the All-Star team? Has any chance of it or not?
I don't. I'm also cool if he doesn't. I'd rather him just fucking take a couple days off.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of the All-Star game has a lot of the fan votes and stuff, and I don't think he gets enough fan recognition to get in there. And then, like Shane said, I mean, he's playing about 40 minutes a game every night, so it's okay to see him get a few days off.
He is playing 40 minutes a game every single night, so I agree. He could definitely use some rest. One thing I did notice, though, is he has been dunking an insane amount this year, and not just like normal dunks. They've been my favorite kind of dunks, where he goes in, does like an up and under, or like catches an alley-oop, or hits on the run, like that just pulverizing dunk he had against the Pacers, and when he flexes on the crowd and stuff. Like, do you think it would be awesome if he was in a dunk contest? He would never do it. I mean, nor would people really think of him to do it. But, I mean, we would be excited to hear it, but do you think he would be good at that or no?
You want that?
I never thought about him in a dunk contest, and I don't know if he'd be creative enough to be in the dunk contest with the way it kind of goes now. It's just like he has all these cool dunks, but they kind of just seem like, the reverse type of dunks and like that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I think he could finish off some cool dunks, but I don't know if he more has the creativity to compete with some of the kind of creativeness that's in there now.
No one can redo anything anymore. Like, guys are so freakishly athletic. It really is like this awkward spectacle. And like, man, could you imagine the completely no personality Ben Simmons walking out and performing in a dunk contest in the year 2020? Like, what's he gonna do? Is he just gonna show up with like whatever Kardashian he's screwing on his back instead of a cape? She's there and he dunks with her on the back, and she's in like some like diamond bikini or some shit. Like, what's he gonna do? He has no creativity and no personality. Just sit his ass down. Let him relax for a week.
I'd watch Kendall Jenner throwing him an alley-oop. I think he'd get tens for that, and he'd be all over Twitter. But yeah, he can't really do much there. He is tall as well, and as athletic as he is, I mean, tall guys just generally have a disadvantage in the dunk contest. But true. Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting tidbit. It'll never happen. I'm not shocked to hear that no one really thinks about that stuff, but I just happened to be watching a highlight reel of him dunking the other day, and it crossed my mind. Moving on here, let's talk about this. Is aside from that little tidbit I had shared about all the players Ben Simmons has guarded this year, another defensive stat for you guys, and this is definitely my favorite thing I've learned this week. Thybulle is the best defensive 6'5" player of all time, or the best defensive shot blocker of all time at 6'5". For 36 minutes, he literally is leading the NBA in history for blocks out there. I mean, everyone said that he was a great defender coming into the year, but he's putting up historic numbers. You guys think he has any shot at an all-defensive team? Not this year, maybe, but next year. Do you think he's getting on the radar enough with that kind of popularity?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think. I think not much more you can improve on, but you kind of after the offseason, he'll probably do all this different type of work. So I'd only expect him to continue to do great things on defense. And I mean, he's just playing at an unreal level, and you saw it all throughout college. And the big knock was, Washington only played a zone type of defense, so it's easier for him to get the steals and the blocks and that kind of system. But I think that he's surprising people the way he transitioned perfectly on the defensive end in the NBA. So I think it's going to continue to get noticed.
Well, with him, he is so much more potential than just a 3-and-D. 3-and-D is a carved out category now that teams need and seek and love, and that's great. But he's better than that. It would not shock me. Right now, if he's going to average 20, 25 points a night for the rest of the year and postseason, he's going to get on everybody's radar if he's not already, and I think he probably is. But then he's certainly going to go into this next year, and they only have Josh Richardson for 2 more years. He's their most movable trade asset, and as much as we all love Jay Rich and want him to stay, there's a potential that he's kind of an odd man out here. And if he is, you want another guy that can at least handle the ball sometimes. And at 6'5", as a wing there, teach this man how to dribble with a basketball and to kind of create in some space. And if that's not all he doesn't work on, he could end up being a starting guard for us and playing 35 minutes a night, be out there just like Ben. And that's a pretty ridiculous backcourt, if you ask me.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think actually one of the reasons he's hopping onto everyone's radar here is, or at least Sixers Twitter's radar, is he has this just knack in social media stuff of just hopping on the camera, giving this sly-ass smile, not really doing a whole lot, but doing it in such a lovable way that you can't help but just love him. And then you go and watch, the highlight reels or check his stats out, and you're like, holy shit, this guy is not only just unbelievably likable, he is the best defender I've ever seen. Oh my God, is he the best 6'5" shot blocker of all time? He is. No way. You just have to assume the media is going to fall in love with him that way too, and he'll just be a staple on the all defensive team. So I'm excited for him moving forward. But let's stick on this social media topic for a little bit. We had talked about earlier in the year that Sixers social media was not that great, and you know what? They've proven me wrong, because they've been giving us nothing but gold lately. There's a clip or 2 clips of Tobias Harris that came out this week. One of him walking around doing the Conor McGregor Billy strut, which, I mean, as an MMA fan myself, that was huge. And he had this giant ass diamond chain on his neck, and he was talking about how he was going to hurt his neck. Simmons. Yeah. It was hilarious. You don't realize how fucking big Ben Simmons' chain is. I don't know why he's rocking that, but he's dating the Kardashian, so I guess he's better looking than all of us anyways. Doesn't matter. But but yeah, Tobias Harris is doing that. He is fucking hilarious. He wears these tiny glasses. And then my favorite clip of the week, it's him on the bus. It was Ben Instagram living it again. And he's doing this, Tobias Harris is doing this thing with everyone that gets on, and he goes, where'd you come from and where are you going? And he does it with everyone, and they're all just going nuts the whole time. The best one that I saw, I mean, Matisse Thybulle had a pretty hilarious one. It was just classic Matisse Thybulle, just real likable. I can't even remember what he'd said. He's from Washington or whatever. I can't even remember where he said he was going. But at the end of the video, because I was cruising through the whole thing and couldn't sleep the other night, I was watching old Instagram live videos. But Brett Brown gets on there. It's a classic white guy, and they're asking him, where are you coming from? Where are you going? And he doesn't know what's going on because he's an old white guy. And he says, I'm Brett Brown. I'm from New England, and I'm going to the Four Seasons. And everyone on the bus just loses it, and they all go nuts. It was just peak social media, peak dad humor. It was awesome, and the Sixers captured it. They're back in the social media game, and they're better than anyone. It is awesome to see. I'm happy with it, and it begs the question again. Are the Sixers all just listening to this show secretly? Are we really the favorite Sixers podcast out there? The evidence says yes. I don't know if anyone can prove me wrong. Don't try to on this show, but yeah, they're definitely
Don't try to.
but yeah,
it's weird, man. Like Joel Embiid is the only person who's had a social media presence and personality since he's been here for the most part, outside of Jimmy Butler. He's disappeared on the court, hurt, off the court, no fucking idea what's going on with him. And like suddenly the Sixers look like a basketball team, and the Sixers social media is just on absolute fire. And then insert Sixers dumbass Twitter saying that they should trade him. I'm so pissed off about that.
Me too. Joel Embiid is the city of Philadelphia. He's our guy. If you can't back him in 2 weeks when he's hurt, then what are you doing? I mean, we're not getting rid of him. Everyone needs to shut up. Like, he fits in perfectly, and if he doesn't, we'll figure out a way. We'll hammer a square peg into a round hole for him because he's going nowhere. We're winning a championship with him.
And it's so odd. It's like back and forth between Ben Simmons and Embiid. It's like the city wants to see us not succeed with both of those guys, and it's like, oh, we can't succeed with both of them, so we have to trade one. And it's just like, it makes no sense. Like, you finally have the opportunity to have all these guys, and it's like, oh, they can't do it together, so you have to make the most out of one.
That is because the citizens of Philadelphia, who consider themselves sports fans of these 4 minorly great franchises, are fucking dumb. Like, Philadelphia fans are so stupid. I love you guys. Thanks for listening to the pod.
Yeah, we are a remarkably dumb, just sports franchise or sports city. I get why people don't like us from this stuff, honestly. I wouldn't want to be from anywhere else. I love the city of Philadelphia. I love everything about it. But goddamn, is it frustrating when we're trying to get rid of the best basketball player we've had in quite some time. The guy that arose out of the ashes of the process. And does everyone not remember how just unbelievable he was last year at the end of the year in the playoffs, and just puts it all out on the line, and he's crying for the city because he wants a championship so bad for us. I mean, if you don't want that guy around, I don't want you around. All right? Like, but yeah, I mean, so
just go back and watch his first game against OKC. He is so much fun. Like, oh my God, it was so cool. Like, man, like that made me sound super nerdy. It was so cool. But like, I just remember waiting for something that I never thought was ever going to happen. Like, I kept thinking like, fuck, here comes it's a Bynum thing again. He's never going to fucking dress. Like, it's just here, another wasted pick, another process that's never going to end. And then he takes the floor and he has that weird step turn, like half turn fade pump thing. And sinks that first shot. And I'm like, oh, this is the greatest player I've ever seen in my life. And he's a fucking 76er. Like, go back and rewatch that and like tell me that it all fucking 2020 millennial vocabulary hits you in the feels immediately. Like, you remember exactly how you felt, or at least I did because I'm a person. But Philadelphia may not be because you guys are dumb.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Thanks for listening to the pod.
I will say too, I mean, even outside of the city of Philadelphia, people absolutely love Joel Embiid and recognize how good he is at all times. Anytime I pull my Joel Embiid jersey out and, happen to wear it outside the house for a brief second to do whatever I'm doing, I always get a shout out and people always talk about it. And I get to brag about how I'm from the best city in America, which is Philadelphia, despite how our sports fans are wavering back and forth and a little hot and cold. But you know what? It's okay. I love you too. Thanks for listening to the pod. Let's move on here a little bit away from the Sixers and hit some other basketball news. I don't know about you guys, but I'm hooked on Bronny Jr. and Z Wade. Like, why is this high school team on ESPN, first off? But second off, once you get beyond that fact and you get to see like a scrawny 16-year-old, but like somehow 6'5" kid going out there and just throwing down on another 6'5" kid and giving like the Ben Simmons flex over them, which definitely should get you a technical in high school. You can't do that, but like, it is must-see TV. I've been watching some of those games. They always show LeBron in the crowd.
He's a tool.
He really is. He went to his kid's game right before the Lakers played the other night, which it's a questionable decision. I don't know what he's doing, but
honestly, I'm pretty cool with that.
Yeah.
but I still fucking hate LeBron.
I love LeBron.
I know you do.
Yeah, I don't really hate LeBron either, but I'm around so many Lakers fans all the time. It's starting to make me hate him. But I can't say a bad thing about him. He's putting up MVP numbers here. But his son is just must-see TV. It cracks me up every time I see him out there. I think you were telling us, Andrew, that you had seen that they have 15 games on ESPN or something this year, which is ridiculous. That's more than the Sixers will have on ESPN all year. Like, can you imagine that? Like, the greatest team in NBA history, the 2019-2020 Sixers, are getting less buzz than fucking Bronny Jr.? Like,
it's more than a lot of teams at this point. I mean, at this point, some teams like the Knicks and Nets and that, they don't even get 15 nationally televised games.
That's true, but they don't deserve to be on actual TV. No one's watching that anyway.
That's very true.
Yeah, but which begs the real question I wanted to bring up after I just talked about how I can't get enough of them. Should we be watching this and feeding into this at all? Like, is there a problem with just having these 16-year-old kids on TV already? Like, do you think that's just setting them up for just a rough college career or a rough not NBA career when they have to work it? Well, whatever, they don't have to work. Their dads are all rich. But, like, they're in rough shape here. Like, I don't know how you peak or how you come off that peak a little bit. You're on national TV as a 16-year-old. You're the coolest kid in the world. I'm sure you're getting, like, every single 16-year-old girl in your high school. Maybe a couple 18-year-old girls are, like, coming back from college and hooking up with you and stuff. Like, is this okay? Or am I allowed to be hyped up about this?
Go ahead, Andrew.
I think in a way it's almost, I mean, I'm sure in a way they kind of like the hype, but like in a way it's also unfortunate for them because they just, like you said, they're gonna have so much to live up for, and like they could turn into really good players, but like they got all this hype since these young days, and I mean it's gonna be, it's not even like they're seniors either, so they're gonna be stuck here for a very long time here, and then obviously you gotta play at least 1 year in college, or at least get to that age where you can go out to the NBA. So like they're gonna have a lot of hype, they're gonna have a lot of media, and it's gonna be interesting how those two adjust to it throughout their lives, just like before they get to the NBA, because I mean that could also put a huge toll on them themselves.
Yeah, it definitely could. But I don't know. I'm torn about this. I'm sure I'll be doing a Bronny Jr. Z-Wade check-in again at some point this year. But yeah, this is the first time they're popping up on our radar that we're talking about it enough here. I don't know. I'm going to have to scour the internet to see what everyone else is thinking before I make up my decision here. But in the most exciting news of the week, and it is not the Sixers beating the Nets, it is not Ben Simmons winning the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. It is Zion Miss Eve. We're pumped here. I was joking around before saying Shane was spending all his time watching Zion highlight videos. He might be doing that. I don't really know. But Zion is playing for the first time all year, and he is starting off what is the most hyped up college player entering the NBA since LeBron, honestly, I would say. I can't think of anyone else that has that much hype, just straight up out of college behind them. How excited are you guys about Zion playing tomorrow? Super excited or really, really excited? Those are the only options.
Look, man, I'm super excited. You're not wrong. I have been watching a lot of Zion highlights. I was the guy who said that was a surprise, definite contender out west for me. They seemed like a team that was just too young to know that they weren't supposed to be as good as they could be. I still don't think that Zion is going to be some phenomenal NBA player. He is a freak athlete, but his body already not great. But he's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. I don't know if he's ever going to be a good shooter. And I don't know that his body is always going to lend itself to, 82 games a year or 60, 65 games a year in this new NBA. But I know that if he's out there for 50 games a year or 82 games a year for 5 minutes a night or 35 minutes a night, he's going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And tomorrow's the first time.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shane, in the sense of I think you put a good word in there. He's going to be a fun player to watch, and I think he's going to be more fun than actually how good he will be. I'm one that believes John Morant's the best player in this draft class. I I thought he was better than Zion coming out. And I thought Zion just got a lot of hype for his dunks and some of the defensive blocks he was able to make. And I'm excited to watch him and see how he does adjust to the league in that sense. But I think he's a lot of fun just because of the dunks that he has, and I'm excited to see if he can kind of use that and bring out that extra aggressiveness because of how big he is against some of these NBA guys.
Yeah, he moves unlike anyone I've ever seen at that size. I mean, the only close player I can think of is LeBron with that, but Zion just moves in a different way, jumps in a different way, and yeah, he is definitely going to be on the must-watch list, and he's coming back at a great time. The Pels have been playing good again, been scoring a lot, so they're going to be back on the radar. I mean, they dropped off a little bit as a league pass watch for me at some point earlier on in the year, but they're coming back on the rise. So better believe I'll be tuning in tomorrow to watch Zion miss, which we've affectionately come up with for the game. Something that only happens, we only get a player this hype every once in a while, so it's must-see TV. They're playing the Spurs tomorrow. We're pumped about it. So yeah, let's get to a close here. We've taken this one pretty long, and we've gotten into some fun stuff. Let's get into the most fun segment of the night, most fun segment of every night. What I look forward to all week, twice a week, because the TJ is One of Us podcast. He is twice a week here in 2020, and we're going to stick to that, unlike we had in the past. But let's get to Zhaire's stash. So because we're such a dynamic podcast, we're going to go cross sports with this comparison, not because we're running out of NBA players to look at and because I had spent more time watching fights this weekend than NBA games. That's definitely not the reason here. But we had an interesting look from the king, Conor McGregor, who is back, motherfuckers. That was my terrible Irish motherfucker that Conor McGregor says. Coming from Irish ancestry, you think I have a better accent than that. But
you would think. Jesus.
That was really bad. But Conor McGregor showed up to fight night wearing a red suit with this weird slick back hair and giant beard. That's how he was seen all fight week. It was strange. I'm not going to lie. He looked like he's aged about 10 years in the year and a half he's been off from fighting. But with that, I ask, Shane, is Conor McGregor better than the 7th best player in the NBA, G League All-Star, and future three-point contest winner in the NBA All-Star weekend? Zhaire Smith, give me your thoughts here, buddy.
This is tough. So this is one where 364 days a year, I would probably take Conor McGregor, man. $10,000 suit that he never repeat wears. It's always ridiculous. He's a handsome dude, but man, that was not a good look for him at all. And you're right. He looks like he's aged a freaking lot in the year and a half that he's been away from stuff. So Zhaire, it's back-to-back weeks, kid. That's 2 weeks in a row, my friend. You have started off 2020 as the champ of your own category, Zhaire Stash.
Congrats, Zhaire. Great year for you. Great year for us. And great last couple of games for the Sixers. We got to keep it going here and keep this excitement. Stay behind our boys. We're excited for Embiid to come back. We're gonna leave you guys here with this one. It was a great show tonight. I had a lot of fun talking about this. I'm excited for Zion. I'm excited for the Sixers moving forward. And as always, go Sixers.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back, hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open